So the internet has made its mistake already. We ended up being in the hands of 5 companies. AI is about to repeat it, but even faster. The only way to stop it is to build the open alternative right now during the window that exists before the monopoly closes. This is what decentralized AI infrastructure is. So by 2030, it is predicted that they will be AI agents. They will be handling $30 trillion worth of autonomous transactions.
AI agent meme coins. AI is not a narrative. AI is a part of our life. As we saw internet, for example. Who can say that internet is a narrative nowadays? No one, because it's a part of our lives. Most teams in the space sell a narrative. That's still the case. So
Yeah.
we sell a stack. ChainGPT, yep. In a Web3 perspective, it's a pretty young company. We have showed up back in 2022, of course, with a Web3 AI infra. But on the in the Web3 world, we're one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Web3 AI companies.
There's no usual playbook for growth in Web3. That is the fun part.
That's for sure. What we have mentioned as well, if something is working for you today, doesn't mean that it's going to work tomorrow. 50% of the whole world have never tried ChatGPT at all. They don't know how it looks like. Maybe they've heard about it, of course, but they've never used it. Half of the world, like 45%, apologies if this text is not fully accurate, don't have an access to internet.
Think about what happened with the internet. In 1995, it was open. Anyone could build it. Value was supposed to flow everywhere. By 2010, 5 companies owned it. Google owned search, Meta owned social, Amazon owned commerce. The open internet became the most efficient centralization in human history. And nobody saw it coming until it was already done. AI, on the other hand, it is on the way to be one of them. Right now, we have 3 major players: OpenAI, Google, Anthropic. They all are racing on the same path to own the intelligence layer. The GPUs, the data, the models behind it, everything they want to own it on their own terms, on their own prices, right? But here's what is different here. AI agents are already live, already earning. Versus protocol, you already heard about them. They are already making millions of dollars. BitTensor subnets, they are already posting thousands of dollars per day. Coinbase, I think they published an article mentioning that they have already made 50 million plus transactions machine to machine. The agentic economy is not a prediction, it is already happening here. So the question is, who own the infrastructure underneath it? Today, I'm talking to Vlad, the head of BD at ChainGPT, one of the team building the open alternative before the windows open. Let's get into it. Cool. So, GM everyone, welcome to Emergence Unchained. I'm Sagar, the founder of Emergence Media. Today's conversation is built around one argument. We all know AI is going to be the technology of this decade, but the argument is, who is going to own the infrastructure beneath it? The internet has made the mistake by its own, and AI is on the way to repeat it, and only faster. So the only way to stop it is to build an open infrastructure, open alternative right now during the window that exists before the monopoly closes. This is what decentralized AI infrastructure is. This is why I have my guest here, Vlad. He's the head of BD at ChainGPT, the AI infrastructure layer of Web3. He's the person in the room making deals, building the partnerships, and deciding what gets built on the top of what ChainGPT is create. Vlad, welcome to Emergence Team.
Thanks for having me, Sagar. Hey guys, shaking your hand digitally. Excited actually for this one because the conversation about AI and Web3, AI and crypto is finally moving past narratives and into like infrastructure, products, and real world usage. And yep, Vlad here, head NVIDIA ChainGPT, covering multiple seats on the partnerships ecosystem, BD, sales, sometimes marketing and go-to-market sides. So yep, let's keep it going.
Great, great, Vlad. Before I get into ChainGPT and AI stuff, I want to know or understand what exactly is your role and what is your day like in ChainGPT.
Great question. Compared to Web 2, well, BD comes up, goes closer to actually a standard sales role, but not really.
Yeah.
In Web3, we have a pure actual differentiation. Sales, account executive, SDR, account manager, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
BD operations in Web3 doesn't have that. We actually, BD folks came up with a new role, which is a BD, and BD means that what I have mentioned just before, covering multiple seats. Ecosystem, product side, partnerships, sales, any sort of distribution, any sort of go-to-market, any sort of collaborations with marketing and marketing brainstorming stuff, preparing materials. So basically, you're covering multiple seats, as I've been mentioning before. In terms of my day, well, it depends on the priorities because Web3 shifts fast, and our world shifts fast, and Web3 shifts even
Yeah.
faster. Of course, it
Yeah.
depends on the priorities. It depends on the current focuses in our company and what's required. Of course, I'm doing all of those stuff on a daily basis, but depends where we are at the
Yeah.
moment. But right now, for an example, I'm on a podcast with Sagar, so one of it's a part of my day-to-day workflow as well, as you can
Yeah.
see.
I feel like you're not doing justice to your role. You're not doing much with your time.
That's true.
Cool. So I'm sure you already understand the space is already crowded with, AI plus crypto projects. Every project is finding some way to, write this narrative. ChainGPT works in this space. How are you integrating AI and cryptocurrency?
Sure. What I want to mention first of all is that actually, as for me, AI is not a narrative. Let me explain though. So,
Yeah.
yep, of course, I've been here since 2017. So in multiple cycles, multiple crypto winters, multiple bull run cycles, and of course, multiple narratives.
Yeah.
NFT narrative, then I don't know, depend infrastructure, then I don't know, DeFi summer, etc. Of course, those are actual narratives that actually came up and vanished. Meme coins, etc. AI agent meme coins. AI is not a narrative. AI is a part of our life. As we saw internet, for an example. Who can say that internet is a narrative nowadays? No one, because it's a part of our lives.
Yeah.
AI, that's the same. It changes our lives quickly. It changes how we behave on a day-to-day manner, how we actually search for information, how we educate ourselves, everything. It changed our life already. And
True.
answering your question about ChainGPT specifically, well, the page that works is simple. Most teams in the space sell a narrative. That's still the case. So
Yeah.
we sell a stack. ChainGPT, yep. In a Web3 perspective, it's a pretty young company. We have showed up in back in 2022, of course, with a Web3 AI infra. But on the Web3, in the Web3 world, we're one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Web3 AI companies. And we already operate at the application layer with AI tools for end users and for builders. At the distribution layer was ChainGPT Pad and Degen Pad. At the venture layer, incubation acceleration was labs. And now we are building the execution layer with AIVM. So the conversation actually for me shifts when people realize we're not asking them to believe in a future slide deck or believe in a future token pump. We're showing them that an ecosystem where intelligence, distribution, and infrastructure reinforce each other.
That's a very elaborative explanation. Appreciate that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Vlad. So let me just, go back to what we, mentioned previously. There are so many metrics to talk about, obviously, in AI and even in crypto, right? We talked about virtuals, they are posting millions of dollars in protocols fees already. We have BitTensor that is printing thousands of dollars on a daily basis. Then we also talked about, Coinbase, agentic wallets that are making those transactions, right? Do you think or have you predicted this that it will take place so early, or do you think it is moving by its pace?
Well, as for me, the original question was 1 second, just to confirm if the agent economy feels like moving faster or not
Yeah.
moving faster.
The original question is, had you predicted this happening at this pace? Do you think it is flowing by its nature, or do you think it is moving faster than you ever predicted?
Understood. Well, as for me, actually, and as for ChainGPT as a company, for my colleagues in the Web3 space, for my colleagues in the Web2 space that are also working at AI companies, we think that everything moves faster. So the biggest shift is that agents are no longer actually being judged as a novelty, I would say. They are being judged on utility, revenue, execution, metrics improvement, right? And what we're seeing is that the demand side is accelerating faster than the trust layer underneath it. And that's still, for me, as a problem actually, and that's exactly where the infrastructure gap starts to matter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Another question will be, yeah, so we have AI already, right? They are making transactions, they are doing all the verifications by itself, right? But do you think a blockchain could be the difference where we can tell that, AI is actually the transparent layer that we need, right? Because right now it is being handled by centralized platforms as we already mentioned about OpenAI, Anthropic, and all those stuff, they can always make changes in their how we see things, right? So do you think blockchain could be the one that sets aside AI from being AI to being actual trust layer?
Yes, understood. Good question. And that's actually what we have predicted almost 3 years ago when we started building our own chain AI blockchain in-house named AIVM. Testnet is going to be closer to summer this year or in summer this year, but regardless. So, yeah, uh, a blockchain for agents for AI actually makes sense, but not for ideological reasons, for engineering reasons in specific. So if agents are going to transact, coordinate, hold wallets, use external services, make decisions across protocols, make any sort of actions, you need first of all auditability, programmability, settlement, and a shared state that no single company can switch off or change.
Mm.
And of course, traditional cloud is great for compute. It's great on the compliance side because we all know those companies and they feel common to us compared to like crypto. But it's not a neutral trust layer. Blockchain is, and I would say here we see a lot of blockchain adoption was actually RWA industry growing on a yearly basis. RWA have never became a narrative like at all, but at the same time, more and more
Yeah,
companies are integrating regardless private blockchain, public
yeah,
blockchains, tokenizing assets, tokenizing commodities, tokenizing everything. And our RWA is growing in
yeah.
regards of the market. Market can go up, can go down. RWA is pushing forward. So kudos to RWA builders. Actually, yeah, blockchain is a technology that makes our life faster, easier, and more trustworthy.
So how does ChainGPT is making their efforts to reach there? What is the basic role of ChainGPT here?
Understood. Well, for us, the accountability layer is everything. So our view
Mm.
is that agent execution has to become verifiable in the same way e-commerce had to become, for example, secure before it could scale. That's why AIVM matters. One of the aspects, of course.
Yeah.
Specialized validators, execution proofing, multi-layer verification, and how you move the industry from trust me to verify me. Also, one of the major features we are having at AIVM is actually a Cloudflare for Web3. That's how we call it. It's a protection layer for agents, making sure that your agent's not going to hallucinate. Your agent's not going to perform an action that will make your poor to do tomorrow. And we've seen a lot of cases, for an example, when a trader asks his agent to send like $2,000 in Solana, and this agent sends like instead of $2,000 in Solana, just 2,000 Solanas. Of course, price is different.
Yeah, of
When
course.
trading agent perform an action and gas price is insufficient and it burns all of your budget just paid for the gas price. And that's why AIVM in one of the features actually solving this issue when agents can hallucinate and move not in settings you have confirmed for.
Yeah, I think I also read some tweets about it, about the same incident that you just mentioned, that AI tool, they were doing some transaction and suddenly it hallucinated and there was a huge amount of money that was transacted to a wrong address. I think that was not too long ago.
Interesting part to mention actually for us it was a surprise actually that no one have prepared such a solution, and AIVM so far is going to be the first blockchain and a tool for agents in general that solves it, that
Yeah.
has like a cord for agents making sure that doesn't hallucinate,
Hmm.
but regardless how web2 companies actually solve it and how AI companies solve it, well, spoiler, they don't solve it at all, but they
Hmm.
just, how to call it, they have an insurance company are actually paying web2 company if those agents hallucinate and do something, well, money drain related. It's a pretty interesting take.
There's
I
an
haven't thought
insurance for
about it.
that as well.
Yep, so I haven't heard about it, but I had a conversation this week with a pretty big Web2 AI company, like very big, and that's what
Hmm.
they told us. Not sure if it's fully
Wow,
right, but it's super interesting.
that's interesting. I didn't know that there is an insurance for this as well. Cool. Let's talk about ChainGPT a bit more. You have a lot of things, going on, right? You have, smart contract generator, you have AI auditor. I think you already have trading assistant as well, NFT generator, which is the one specific tool that, whenever you sit with any Web2 or Web3 companies, what is the one tool that is in most demand right now?
Good question. So, all of our tools have specific focuses. One of the tools can fit like general Web3 folks, users. Some of them are built for builders. Some of them are built for projects, teams that are actually about to launch. So it's hard to say. Plus, on top of products, we're also offering services because, as for me, incubation acceleration is definitely a service that provides value to the company. Fundraising services as well. So hard to answer this question in particular. I can answer it in a different way, saying which tool is your favorite, is my
Yeah.
favorite. Well, my favorite tool and at the same time underrated is actually a Solidity LLM. What's
Mhm.
that? It's an open source model we have built fully in-house. A spoiler for AI builders, it's not connected to any sort of generic LLMs like OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, or whatever, you name it, DeepSeek. It's a full niche trained. An in-house build. What it does, it allows you to generate high-quality smart contracts on Solidity and audit high-quality smart contracts on Solidity. And in terms of auditing, it costs you $100 to generate a report. And it's also fully available on our website, so anyone can download it or just pay $100 and check it out. It generates the report within like 5 minutes up to 1 hour, depending on the complexity of your smart contract. That is as quality as a manual audit from well-known auditors on the market that cost, spoiler, 10K plus,
Yeah.
10, 15, 20K plus per audit. And of course, it takes like 1, 2 weeks. Of course, it's not a replacement, but at the same time, it's a super strong tool, super cheap and super fast that proves that actually, well, that's possible.
Yeah, I think that was in collaboration with Alibaba Cloud, right? How
That's
that
right,
partnership
actually.
took place. Yeah. So, what is their contribution in this?
What happened with Alibaba Cloud in terms of
Yeah,
partnership?
yeah, yeah. I'm trying to understand what are your contributions with this, how you build this Solidity LLM, how they are working in this.
Sure. Just to start from the beginning, Solidity LLM, well, we just realized that such a solution doesn't exist on the market, right? That's why we have built it. And we have also 60 developers here in-house that are producing smart contracts, and it made sense even for our internal usage to provide to build such a tool. And we, as an AI company that creates such agents, why can't we build it? So it's more than possible. So that's the result. What happened with Alibaba Cloud, and I would say what actually it taught us, because Alibaba Cloud was the first company we have collaborated with around Solidity LLM. It was one of the first company that we have collaborated with from the Web2 space, actually. Before
Okay.
that, of course, we received grants from Google, from NVIDIA, and from Amazon when we were the startup, but I don't consider it as a partnership, to be honest. So Alibaba Cloud was the first, like a big one, Web2 announcement. I would say what it taught us that enterprise don't care about narratives nearly as much as crypto people think they do. They care about performance, reliability, accessibility, developer adoption, and whether the use case is not clear actually. And what the Alibaba Cloud partnership was powerful because it connected three things at once. First of all, open sourcing the Solidity LLM, so it's available for everyone on Hugging Face. Feel free to check it out. Running it on enterprise grade GPU infrastructure that Alibaba Cloud provided, and of course, linking that computer relationship to the future AIVM network. And yep, that moved us from the interest in Web3 AI project or a niche Web3 AI business to a serious infrastructure partner. And with AIVM release, we're going to be onboarding even more big Web2 names into crypto and collaborating with them on the infrastructure side.
Okay, okay, understood. You mentioned about AIVM, right? Let's talk a bit more about AIVM. right? So
Mhm.
I think it has three validator type. I don't think no other chain has it. It is the AI, the computation, and the data. Why do you think it needs a chain of its own rather than running AI tools that are already existing on different chains and that has already have some liquidity and users?
Sure. I can explain you. Why do we need actually an AI focused, an AIVM, the artificial intelligence virtual machine, right? Why do
Mm,
we need a layer one for AI actually? Well, first of all, because it does not exist. Second, why actually blockchains are releasing specific blockchains for stablecoins, specific blockchains for DEX transactions, etc. Why? Let me ask you a different question. Do we have different car models? Why we have Toyota Corolla? Why we have Lamborghini Urus? Why we have, I don't know, F1 Bullets? Because
yeah,
all of those
every
cars have different
yeah,
purposes. Same as
true.
blockchain. Of course, you can run an agent on a standard blockchain, but it would not give you all the flexibility, everything you're looking for. Of course,
Mm,
you can go from point A to point B, but it, it does not close your requirements at all. AIVM does. And that's because AI workloads are not like native to general purpose chains. Most existing chains were not designed around inference verification, specialized validator behavior, data integrity, agent trust, or model level orchestration. So AIVM is not about launching another chain for the sake of it, because like more layer two, more layer ones, more EVMs, or less. It's about building a chain where AI is a first class primitive instead of off the top. And we've seen also pretty successful use cases in the industry where Sahara AI released one of the first AI blockchains. Zero G Labs, Zero Gravity also has an AI blockchain with a lot of builders. And I would say that, for example, from Sahara's point of view, they are actually not talking to Web3. Most likely, they're onboarding Web2 enterprise businesses. And that's the route AIVM going to take as well, talking to Web2 enterprise businesses, showing them that they can deploy and we can help them deploy their own AI agent that would actually cut their costs or improve their workload and day-to-day operations, and that can put they can put agents on blockchain and being protected on everything might happen to this agent because blockchain is actually publicly available stuff. So
Got it. Got it. There is one prediction um, about AI agents, right? So by 2030, it is predicted that they will be AI agents. They will be handling $30 trillion worth of autonomous transactions, right? You mentioned about all the stuff that is happening with Web2 and how they are going to deploy all the transactions and the things on AIVM. So do you think it is capable to handle that much decentralized way? Do you think we have a long way to go?
realistically speaking, we have still a long way to go. We are building Web3 products for quite a while. Still, we are adoption isn't here yet. Of course, we see crypto ETFs. Of course, we see companies tokenizing products. Of course, we see companies onboarding blockchain capabilities into their businesses. But at the same time, we're still far, far away from actual mass adoption. I would
Mm.
say agentic AI on blockchain exists. It will exist. It will grow for sure, but not as fast as Web 2.1. Same as happening with the Web 3 market. Web 3 world is still far. Majority of people are still living in the Web 2 side of things.
Okay, let me ask you this question differently. Do you think there is any incentive for the Web2 platforms, let's say Anthropic or maybe OpenAI, to shift things on Web3, or is it something that they don't want to do?
Yeah, sure. The question is regulation, actually. If on the regulatory side of things, it will be acceptable, it will be
Yeah.
the case and it will be a new course. Of course, they will easily integrate blockchain and use blockchain, and they're going to be one of the first companies actually building on top of blockchain. That's what we saw with ETFs.
Yeah.
When actually we have accepted blockchain ETFs, we see a lot of Web2 old um, funds started having their own ones and investing in ETFs and still investing. That's the case. It's only about a full adoption and only about a full green light for the whole crypto space and the blockchains specifically.
Understood. Understood. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, cool. So let's talk about, things a little bit differently. You mentioned that you handle a lot of partnerships, you handle a lot of sales. in ChainGPT, right? So you must have seen a lot of, integrations and applications that are taking place through ChainGPT, right? So my question will be, what type of agents have you seen so far, and what was the one application that really surprised you or gave you a aha moment? Why didn't I think about it?
Yeah, sure. It definitely exists. So originally, we all know about LLMs, right?
Hmm.
LLM is a large language model. That means that basically it's you ask a question, it gives you an answer. Of course, you can anyhow automate it with N8N, but basically it's not a standalone solution. I saw they don't exist much on the market. Large action models, where you can
Mm.
actually create a prompt, and this agent can book tickets for you, can review your emails, can review your Google Meets, and do whatever you want. Of course, such agents exist. Such agents exist for Telegram. Agents exist for Google. But at the same time, it has multiple steps included where it actually produce a script, then the script through API, whatever connects with a different platform, blah, 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 blah. It's more like repeatable actions rather than like a pure um, action taken by an agent. Not sure if I was clear fully, but when you ask LLM, OpenAI, for example, a question, it has all the data already. It's just going to execute whatever you ask. Of course, it hallucinates, but regardless. Large action models, that's how people call them. Large action models can perform any sort of actions because they've been trained performing those actions for you, and they can perform an action just getting a prompt from you. Hey, turn on a Facebook ads campaign for me targeting universities, whatever. Hey, buy me a pair of new wheels, whatever.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's something, it's too early still, but people are building such. And I guess we would be having more and more stuff that will be integrated in our day to day lives, how we integrated actually ChatGPT.
Yeah, I was also going through different models that are existing in protocols that are existing on ChainGPT. Most of them, they are mostly inclined towards, trading bots or giving you
Mhm.
some sort of signals that can help you in trading. One such example I saw, which was very different and very fascinating to see. I think there was one, agent that is called Luna. I'm sure you must have heard about it. It was it's a AI influencer. So it has created its own community. Now they are promoting, different projects. They are making memes, and it has created its own interface and own ecosystem where, memes are being released and all those stuff, which was, very fascinating to see. And even on Instagram and Telegram, we usually see a lot of, AI integrated, accounts that are doing so much. So do you think we are on the way to have more applications like these, and it could get more wilder?
That's for sure. Each day, first of all, brings us more and more advanced LLMs,
Yeah,
more and more advanced agents. Each version, yep, it's not a secret that the majority of AI agents, are, of course, are built on top of ChatGPT APIs, Claude APIs, Llama APIs, etc. And each upgrade of OpenAI, right now we have OpenAI 5.4. We
yeah.
just recently had by 5.2. 5 point whatever they gonna come up with, but let's say 6.0, 7.0, each is going to be a huge upgrade.
Hmm.
And
So
each LLM that is actually overperforming nowadays um, brings us more and more and more capabilities and more advanced agents. In
yeah.
terms of agents as a whole, yes, for sure, we will see more agents because more and more people start building those. We saw also OpenClaw, and a lot of people started wipe coding stuff. Of course, they started wipe coding also AI agents. With AIVM, they're going to be putting those agents on blockchain, so it will be accessible for everyone. But regardless, I think that we are actually growing too fast and humanity is not prepared.
Yeah.
And we also heard, well, someone heard, someone not, but it's a pretty popular concept named a concept of a dead internet, where 95% of all the stuff produced in the internet, videos,
Yeah.
YouTube videos, shorts, tweets, articles, will be produced by AI. And each day it become more and more realistic because nowadays I see all the LinkedIn posts are being produced by ChatGPT, all majority of Twitters. we see more and more agents that are actually running socials. Well, guys, we have Agentic OS, a ChainGPT that is actually a Web3 SMM specialist that creates and posts content for crypto-related companies. We have this agent open source, so anyone can build it, anyone can use it actually. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on your website, and you're right. I was just reading it today. I think 95% of the stuff that is on internet has been crunched already.
Yeah.
Whatever we are producing now, already it is being produced by AI. So AI is going to be reading AI. So I'm not sure where we are heading after this. So you mentioned
Well,
rightly that it might be called dumb internet in some time because everything that is going to be posted it is going through AI.
yeah, and the most interesting part that for me, well, even for me nowadays, it's hard to actually understand if this video is actually AI generated or not. I
Yeah,
still manage to actually understand. But for
yeah,
my mom, for
very
older
difficult.
people, they don't
Yeah,
understand at all. They
yeah,
think that, hey, it's real. What's gonna happen in
yeah.
a half a year? We're not gonna understand it like at all. We see a lot of AI agent models on OnlyFans or other platforms generating a lot of money, but they're just AI people. They don't exist. Yep. What's gonna happen next? AI YouTubers, AI streamers, AI whatever.
Yeah. I think for me it all started with one video that was posted by Will Smith. I'm sure you must have
Yeah.
seen it as well.
Yeah.
He was eating noodles, right? So it was so visible and
Oh
evident
yeah,
that it was
immature.
made through AI. But look at now. I think a lot of movies are incorporating AI instead of shooting a real shoot. They are putting AI effects and all those stuff. There was one movie
Yep.
here in India as well. They shot majority of the action scenes through AI, which
Yep,
is,
that's right.
amazing to see.
I know that a lot of studios in Japan are producing animes
Hmm.
nowadays just using AI because it's much more easier because
Yeah.
graphic is lower quality compared to like real life movies. So regardless, I think that the whole community is going to focus on like ERL stuff pretty soon.
Hmm.
And of course, eating a lot of AI generated content is hard for our brains nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. How do you, Vlad, as a head of BD of, ChainGPT use AI in his daily life? How do you use AI? Which is your
Good
favorite AI
question.
tool?
Sure. My favorite AI tool is Claude. If I'm trying to generate something, if I'm browsing
Yeah.
stuff, it's Gemini because it's better for browsing stuff. For Twitter and all the Twitter related topics, all the Twitter related research stuff, I'm using Grok. Of course, I'm using a ChatGPT just because for day-to-day purposes. But
Hmm.
I rely mostly on the most performing model nowadays. If it's ChatGPT, of course, I'm going to be using ChatGPT. If it's Claude with a new model, I'm going to be switching to Claude. Nowadays, it's super cheap and easy. Also, it's free, actually, right? If you're not paid for subscriptions. And what I'm using them for, of course, brainstorming, polishing stuff, research, pretty much everything. In terms of AI agents, I won't say that I have like one preferred AI agent that actually solves my day-to-day businesses. I still rely on old school automation, maybe just because it's still an open market for automating sales and BD stuff and preparing AI agents for those. And we will see more of those showcase soon.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And what about the company? Are you using any Web3 tools? Have you shifted to, AI models for lead generations and reach outs and all those stuff, or are you still using Web2 tools like CRM tools and all those stuff?
Yeah, sure. I would say that actually we're a Web 2.5
Hmm.
with everything related to day-to-day operations. What exactly? We have Web 2 tools, of course, that we've been
Hmm.
using, and CRM, as you've been mentioning, but at the same time, we automate it everywhere as much as possible. With
Yeah.
Zapier, with N8N, yes, we do have automations, and of course, we can count them as AI stuff integrated. And of course, we've been integrating AI stuff for super long time because we originally started as a Web3 AI company, and a lot of developers and a lot of folks that are working for ChainGPT at ChainGPT do have actually an AI background. And of course, how can you avoid AI if you don't have an AI background? If you do have AI
Yeah.
developers in house, how can you still stay in like pure Web2 operations? Still, something is good, something makes sense to integrate, something is not. Because of course we see a lot of companies are replacing people nowadays. But if we just make a calculations, you replace one person that makes, let's say, 2K a month, 3K a month, regardless. But you replace it with an AI agent, you pay a lot of money to integrate this AI agent, to manage this AI agent, that make sure that it does not hallucinate. You need to pay for APIs. The CI agent might use not one API, it may use like 40, 50 APIs to perform one action. You're also paying for GPUs or just
Yeah.
for a monthly subscription. So it's not that cheap actually. So yeah, I would say we will be integrating more and more AI tools on a daily manner. But first of all, they should mature.
Did you also buy that small Mac Mini that everyone was buying on Twitter previously
Yeah, and you
last
need
month?
to buy a small Mac actual that costs money to have AI inside of your company. It's also one more expense. No, me personally, I did not.
Hmm.
Seems our company did not as well because it was not the case for us.
Yeah, everybody was flaunting their Mac Mini last month previously when OpenClaw was released. They were building, random application and flaunting about
Yeah,
how they, built it and all those stuff. Which makes me wonder, there are so many tools that we are building it. Are we even, ready to apply those? I think 99% of the people are still stuck with, ChatGPT on searching, hey, how do I do this?
interesting statistics. I've actually read the statistics maybe like 1 week ago that actually more than 90% of the whole world have never tried ChatGPT at all. They don't
True,
know how
true,
it looks like. Maybe they've
true.
heard about it, of course, but they've never used it. Half of the world, like 45%, apologies if the statistics is not fully accurate, don't have an access to internet. Still,
Yeah,
internet exists
yeah.
since 1990s, and half of the world still doesn't have any access to internet on a daily basis. In terms of AI capabilities, well, what I can say that actually AI tools are being popping up on a daily basis too fast because you can wipe code them, you can just create them easily nowadays, and it's hard to actually keep an eye on those and keep a track of it. Me
Mm,
personally, of course, I check what's going on the AI space. Of course, I'm in touch with majority of the AI Web3 projects, but at the same time, for day-to-day usage, I'm waiting for tools to mature to prove that actually they exist on the market, to prove that they are actually got a credibility, and then I can implement them. For now,
mm.
trying new tools on a daily basis, not the case for us. Compile without our compliance policy. Our compliance team is pretty strict in terms of what we can use.
Of course, it has to be. It has to be. Yeah, you mentioned about different Web3 projects in AI space that are doing, you are in touch with. Which project do you think is doing well apart from ChainGPT, of course? Which project do you like, or what applications do you like? What type of applications do you want to see?
Let me be a little bit salesy here, and I would say that I really like what our incubations are doing, the tie and the pin. So
Mhm.
that's the answer. It's like a full sales answer and promo answer.
I don't blame you for being based.
But realistically speaking, hard to say actually. All teams are showing good stuff on paper, but the question is what's going to happen after they have a token launch? Or
Yeah.
are they going to realistically launch? Because, yep, they have like crazy ideas, but they have zero funding. It's hard to
Mm.
fundraise on this market. It's hard to bootstrap. And of course, a lot of ideas are actually dying,
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
ideas. But well,
Yeah.
it's just a standard process for Web2. It exists as well. Not all the businesses actually survive, and only the strongest, and the luckiest
Yeah.
builders survive and show up on the market.
You mentioned about so many projects dying, right? I was just reading one stat. During this particular bear cycle, more than 20 protocols have shut down
Yeah, big
because they could
ones.
not survive, right? It's not really about the idea that they were after, right? I think it was about actually surviving or making money during this bear cycle. Do you think we are mature enough to handle all this? Because whenever there is any bear cycle coming up, the money, it dries up very fast. So ultimately, these protocol have to shut down just because of that.
Not because of that. Compared to Web 2, where Web 2 is actually pretty straightforward and it generates revenue on a daily basis. Of course, not
Yeah.
talking about like high tier technology providers and tech companies. In Web 3, what's the problem? Why actually all builders that were showing results, generating revenue, are turning on off their operations? Because Web 3 shifts fast and they're still buried in their old narratives, in their old go to market. They cannot
Mm.
shift, they cannot switch, and they cannot mature. And that's the biggest gap I see. And that's what I like about ChainGPT, that actually we switch priorities based on the market conditions, based on what's going on and how the whole market and the whole world evolves. And that's why we're still on track. That's why we have 100 people all over the world building
Yeah.
ChainGPT products. Yep. But regardless, all the statistics that we have, that a lot of projects are turning off, there are a lot of course, blockchain startups show up and die. We see the statistics in the Web2 world as well.
Yeah, that's true.
95% of
That's true.
businesses, like of startups, businesses, whatever you prefer to call them, gonna shut down in the next 6 months.
Hmm.
90% of all the startups that actually left out of those like 100 like 5%, 85% of those 5% gonna die in the next like year or two, and
Yeah.
only like 0.01% gonna survive, grow, generate revenue. And I'm talking about everything pretty much: office
Yeah.
shops, trends,
It happens everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's just that we are in the Web3 space and there is so much hype about it. We talk about it so often.
A lot of hype, but at the same time, not that much people are actually building in a Web3. Of course,
Hmm.
Web3 is like 1% of the whole world, of the whole
Yeah.
startups, of the whole companies, if not less. I would say it's like
Yeah.
0.1, well,
Hmm.
0.5% maybe.
Yeah,
My
not even
assumption.
1%. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have like statistics here ready to go, but that's
Yeah,
what I think.
it must be around 1% maybe. Yeah, that's true. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's talk about a little bit about, BD and marketing because this is something that I'm personally interested in.
Mhm.
I started my career in as a BD and sales guy for different, Web3 websites and then started my own marketing agency. So this is something that I'm more interested in. So let's talk about, BD first. You mentioned, you have met a lot of Web2 companies that are, doing different sort of partnerships and, talks and all those stuff. Which company or, which organization would you like to see in the Web3 space collaborate with you or maybe independently, which could be exciting for AI and crypto?
As for me, of course, it will be exciting when the biggest companies in the world are actually tapping into Web3 space. Apple, Amazon. We
Yeah,
also see Google Cloud, Google here, and Google, they do have like head of Web3 strategy as a title exists, and as a
yeah,
whole direction, and multiple teams building and collaborating with Web3 projects. We see NVIDIA actually is
yeah.
in talks and in active supportings of Web3 projects. So yeah, Amazon Web Services, Alibaba Cloud, they're pretty much open collaborating with Web3 people. But of course, it
Hmm.
would be great when like the biggest giants, I don't know. I know that BMW actually does have AI agents integrated, and I've heard that they do have a blockchain somewhere. It's
They
the
have?
private one.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's true, but that's something I've heard of. Of course, maybe the other car brands, maybe other technical providers like grocery stores, no idea. So
Yeah.
the bigger the
I
better.
think Yeah. I think Nike launched its own
Yeah,
NFTs back then.
DG, Dolce Gabbana, they did have an NFT collection as well. So yeah, they're somehow
Yeah.
integrating, but of course it's just a hype train. Let's be honest.
Hmm.
They're not
That's
actually
true.
integrating Web3 and not building in a Web3 space on a daily
Yeah.
basis.
Yeah, I think that was more of a marketing move than
Yeah, that's true.
actually working in the Web3 space. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Let's talk about a bit about marketing, right? I think you guys launched in back in 2022, if I'm not wrong. I'm sure AI was not that hyped up back then.
Mhm.
So what was the real vision or the original vision back then, and how did you guys pivoted to, where you are now? Because if I'm not wrong, you were more focused on the launchpad side, right? Previously. So how did the pivot made?
Understood. So ChainGPT started with its first product, which
Mhm.
was an actually Web3 LLM. What was the purpose?
Mhm.
Of course, we have seen OpenAI, ChatGPT, and we understood that ChatGPT, okay, ChatGPT, this version 1.0 or whatever version it was back then, it can answer any sort of questions. It can answer
Yeah.
questions about a Bitcoin, about blockchain, crypto, whatever, Web3. But at the same time, it hallucinates. It doesn't know what's going on right now. It doesn't have live data. It doesn't have proper data. That's why we have understood AI is here. AI is going to stay. It's not a narrative. And people would need in a Web3 space like an LLM that can actually meet their requirements and meet their needs and answer all of those questions in a live and proper manner. That's why we have built ChainGPT Web3 LLM that still exists nowadays. It's connected to 150 plus endpoints all around the Web3 space. It's connected to different blockchain explorers like AddressScan, SolScan, BNB scans, you name it. And of course, it's trained on a live and accurate Web3 data just to make sure that all the answers produced by this LLM are actually live, proper ones, accurate, and more. And whoever builds in a Web3 space and utilizing AI uses our LLM. How we pivoted? Well, good question. In our 2023, when we actually had our token launched, our CEO and founder, Alan, he thought, okay, what's going to be the next step for ChainGPT? What's going to be the next product? What's the where we are good at? And that's when we actually came up with a launchpad back in 2023.
Mhm.
So it was not our original product because we had understanding on the market, we had feeling, and since then we have launched 70 plus IDOs, and ChainGPT is one of the best launch pads nowadays on the market and still making
Yeah.
launches. We also had DegenPad. We also had labs who were incubating, accelerating projects, and we have incubated like Solidus AI Tech, GD Protocol, Cookie3, Kima Network, ChainAware. Those guys were pretty big when they launched, and their launches were super successful. And of course, all the products we've been releasing later on, all the AI tools we've been releasing later on, we just thought, okay, what this market needs, what can we do, where we have
Mm.
actually capabilities, what can we build. Also, we came up with AIVM idea because we saw that, okay, that's the problem exists, let's solve it. We know how to do it. We have people in house, they're ready to build. We have all the knowledge on how to promote it, on how to partner up with people, on how to sell those services or products. And market actually needs those services. They're interested. And that's how we pivoted. And right now, ChainGPT has, well, if I'm not mistaken, we've made this calculation maybe half a year ago, like 25 or 30 products so far.
You guys need to do more, maybe.
We
Yeah,
will.
in the coming days.
Well, AIVM so far is one of the biggest product releases we're planning. In terms of other product releases, yeah, we're building, but nothing to announce actually.
Mm.
And of course, all of the old products, if I can say so, should
Yeah.
be managed, should be actually supported and
Mm.
upgraded, etc.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's talk about the playbook that you guys adopted back when you just started. So how did you make sure that you are getting those users? How did you manage that you are getting those impressions or the visibility that you wanted to have?
Good question. I've joined ChainGPT team like more than a year ago, so I haven't been
Mhm.
with the company when it actually showed up to the market. Of course, I've been following
Okay.
ChainGPT because I was fully working in a Web3 space and I knew all the players on the market.
Mhm.
So I was just like a external supporter, if I can say so. I can tell you what's going on right now because Web3 space matures in terms of marketing, in terms of acquisition, directions, and traffic resources, if I can say so. If we're talking about like pure distribution and user onboarding, used to work back then, and nowadays they're not working.
Yeah.
Other tools are maturing. For an example, we saw like quests, standard Zilla Galaxy, then like point systems came up, then like on-chain based quests, trading competitions nowadays. Then we saw like InfoFi campaigns, and of course it's a part of Web3 growth strategy, and it's a part of your strategy where you're planning to allocate your marketing budgets. What I would tell you that actually, of course, we're focused on partnership distribution, working with the existing community, because nowadays it's much more cheaper, if I can say so, in terms of gross metrics, realistically speaking, to hold the existing user and onboard him to use your other products compared to actually onboarding new ones. Yeah, it's a pretty broad question because a lot of stuff to say and to mention. A lot of strategies exist, a lot of strategies we've been using and still using nowadays. But what's for sure is actually be honest with your community. Protect your community. Don't do just fluff, as we call them, partnerships, just for partnership. If you have something behind of it, that's great. And all of the partnerships we've been making actually does have something behind of it, some sort of traction, deal flow traction, business traction, or technical traction in terms of they integrate us or we integrate them and use them on a daily basis. So yeah, that's maybe the answer, like the shortest one I have managed to.
Let's say if you are launching ChainGPT now, how would you proceed? What will be your allocation on, let's say, marketing?
I can tell you what we've been using for our previous launches. For example, AIVM version 2. What we're using for our incubations, for an example, we have launched Whitebridge back in November. So I would guess this strategy pretty much exists. So of course, it's social media marketing. PR is included. I know that it's super broad, but at the same time, we are running Web3 ads. Of course, we have battle-tested resources, battle-tested partners that we know that can actually deliver results and deliver traffic. And it's super important nowadays because you can have 100K in marketing, but allocating budget into bad resources would bring you zero at the end. Of course, working with QLs. Of course, we've been doing quests. Of course, we've been doing API-based quests. Of course, we've been collaborating with other Web3 brands in terms of announcements, in terms of blog posts, in terms of research articles, AMA sessions, podcasts, in terms of joint learn and earn campaigns. So yeah, I know that it's like a pretty short answer, but at the same time, if you dig deeper, it's like too complicated. It might take like hours and hours breaking
Yeah.
it down.
It's also about the execution, right? We cannot just say that we will be using KOLs and utilize all the KOLs that are in the space.
How to utilize, who to utilize, when to
Yeah.
utilize, it costs a lot. Like this
Mm.
knowledge is pretty unique. Unfortunately, we don't have as much courses as
Yeah.
Web2 does. We don't have as much knowledge as Web2 does in terms of marketing and sales because Web3 space is a little bit different in terms of traffic resources, in terms of how you talk to the audience and how you onboard the audience. And of course, all of those understandings only come up with like testings, budgets
Yeah, true.
burned, and yeah, that's the
Yeah.
reality.
There's no usual playbook for growth in Web3. That is the fun part.
That's for sure. What we have mentioned as well, if something is working for you today, doesn't mean that it's going to work tomorrow. If
Yeah,
something is
true.
working for XYZ startup, doesn't mean that it's going to work in the same manner for a different startup because different products, different user journeys, different timeline, even
Hmm.
colors on your website. Yeah. So of course, test,
And test. A/B testing is
and
is is the way.
yep, and of course brainstorm. Brainstorm a lot internally, and of course came up with ideas, prepare plans, delete the plans and prepare new ones. Yeah,
Yeah, true, true, true. A/B testing is the way to go ahead, right?
that's true.
Cool.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you a few hot takes and you can react on what you think about them. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So my first hot take will be the biggest AI companies on earth. They in future, obviously, they won't call themselves AI companies. They will be calling themselves as a blockchain company or a crypto company rather, because obviously, if blockchain is the infrastructure that can verify, govern, and distribute AI at a global scale, do you think do you agree with this, or do you think we can survive, or AI can survive without Web3?
AI still exists, and AI actually showed up to the world without Web3 included.
Hmm.
Web3 joined AI, realistically speaking.
Yeah.
Can it survive? That's for sure, because nowadays it can survive and can mature for sure. But the question
Mm.
is what actually Web3 brings. Web3
Mm.
brings technology. Web3 is a super powerful technology that saves you time, makes everything faster, more transparent. It solves a lot of issues. But
Mm.
unfortunately, let's be realistic, current generation of all the Web2 people who are ruling Web2 companies, tech companies, who are ruling governments in all the countries, they're pretty old. And
Yeah.
of course, everything related to Web2 and crypto is too far away from them. We need
Mm.
to wait when actually the generation switches and when people like you, like me, for an example, that are today 25-year-old, 30, 35-year-old, gonna be leading those companies and those countries to actually see a real crypto adoption because those guys, they know what crypto brings, what Web3 brings, and what's the purpose. And for them, it's pretty common that actually blockchain can save you a lot of stuff. But it's gonna happen
Mm.
realistically in a 15, 20 years, right? That's my
Got it.
prediction. I know that a lot of people do agree with me and some of the people don't, but
Yeah. And that is all about having an opinion about it, right? People will agree, people will disagree. That is what opinion call. Cool. The second hot take will be we all know AI agents are already earning money. Within 2 years, they will be an AI agent that will be in the top 100, most valuable assets or entities in the world. That will be doing all the things by itself, no human interaction, no offices, no founder, nothing. Do you think it is achievable, or do you think we will reach that point, or do you think it is outright crazy?
100% achievable, I would say.
Mhm.
Also, Elon Musk said that by 2040, so basically how much? 15 years left in
And
all
my
the
next question was
houses,
going to be that.
we would have
My next
like
question.
robots that
Yeah.
will be doing all the stuff. Nowadays,
Yeah.
those robots look garbage, they look stupid, but they
Hmm.
mature on a
Hmm.
daily, yearly, weekly basis, right? Same
Hmm.
stuff happening with AI, which AI shifts super fast,
Hmm.
faster that we can even understand and we can catch. That's for sure. Human brain is not prepared. That's true.
Hmm.
That's why I think that yes, we will see AI actually AI judges, robot judges, instead of like human judges in courts,
Hmm.
AI robots in all the restaurants. See AI robots, they've been existed since I don't know 2015 in China. We saw I don't know different coffee shops that were producing coffee, tea,
Yeah.
whatever, without any human. We see Amazon has like a delivery where robots are actually delivering stuff. We see those drones are delivering stuff to you.
Yeah.
Why not? It already exists. And everything we
Yeah.
see in movies, actually, in movies back then, like about AI being everywhere, robot being everywhere, that's for sure going to happen because it's already happening and we have proven that it's possible to do so. And why not?
I think it's all about finding that one application that will be very valuable, that it can reach a trillion-dollar or billion-dollar valuation.
Well, each year money become cheaper and cheaper because of inflation, right? And
Yeah, of
a
course.
billionaire 50 years ago is like a multi-billionaire nowadays,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
we are going to compare. So in 50 years, maybe existing billionaire is going to be like trillionaires just
Yeah,
because
true,
of the
true,
inflation.
true. Got it. Okay. I think that's all I had to ask you, and it was a deeply interactive session that I had with you. I learned a lot about how AI is moving and how ChainGPT is working around it, and what you guys are building, and how you see AI is moving forward. Let me ask you one question before I let you go. What is your vision, or how do you see AI building itself, let's say within 2 years, and how do you see ChainGPT working around it?
Good question. We'll see. Still, as I've been mentioning, each new release of generic LLMs, each new
Mhm.
hyping model that exists in the market, each new open claw changes the world significantly. Have we heard about open claw like 1 month ago before it actually showed up? Not really,
True,
because it has been built
true.
by one person. Who knows what's happening even right now? Maybe while
Yeah,
we're speaking, actually someone released a new super hyped agent or super hyped AI solution that changes our world and our day-to-day tasks and behavior. Maybe. Hard to predict. Of course, as
mm.
I've been mentioning, ChainGPT, we're switching priorities fast, so we're pretty flexible internally, and of course, we can match the current world's agenda, if I can say so, and build fast and
Got it, got it. Okay, I think that's a wrap. Do tell the viewers about where they can find you, where they can find ChainGPT, and what about the updates that is happening on ChainGPT?
Sure. ChainGPT has all the socials basically, but we're the most active on Twitter.
Hmm.
ChainGPT main X account, it's just ChainGPT.
GPT. Of course.
ChainGPT pad, Degen pad, labs, we all there, and of course we are in talks with our community. Also, we have a Telegram channel and Telegram chat. If you would like to, if you're using Telegram or prefer Telegram, feel free to join. We have all the socials available on our website, Instagram, whatever. YouTube, LinkedIn. Me personally, I'm using LinkedIn. Most likely, time by time, I'm using Twitter, but yeah, mostly LinkedIn and
Cool,
Telegram, of
cool, cool.
course.
Great. So I'll leave all the links in the description box, and you guys can find out those people in ChainGPT and Vlad himself in the description. And yeah, that's a wrap, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Have a good one.